Hello, my name is David. It's great to have you all back here again. Today, we're going to talk about uh, what you do when you find yourself hitting a wall. You know, you're working on a problem, you're putting forth what you believe is your best foot, and regardless, somewhere along the line, you just keep tripping and you're not getting past whatever that barrier is. And I am going to look at this from more of a spiritual aspect, although you could still pursue some of what I'm going to show, even if you're not embracing that mindset. But I believe that the real depth of healing and the undoing happens by really going deep within, and that's one of the things that I believe is different even about what I do when I work with people is that we're not just looking to fix the surface so that you have this temporary euphoria. We're digging down to find the root of the problem, and that's actually what we're going to do in this quick session. So when you have a thing where you are struggling, you're working on something, and for regardless of whatever it is, you find that when you think you found the answer, and then when that circumstance comes up again, you see that again you missed it, you failed, you whatever your perception is that you have of yourself at the time. Either way, you know that you just haven't gotten past it, and so the way to undo this is a process that I use that I call following threads. People could call it digging. There's a lot of different aspects of it. So the process is one where you're going to take that moment where you recognize that you're struggling in that thing that you thought you overcame or are trying to overcome. And so you're going to have a quiet moment with yourself and go into there. You're going to close your eyes. You're going to go into that moment and you're going to see if you can allow yourself to relive that moment and catch what you're feeling, catch what you're thinking in that moment to try to give you an idea of what is behind that experience, because that's where we want to dig. And so this is going to be totally different for everybody in every circumstance because your circumstances are unique. Your the experiences you have when you dig down are going to be unique. And so examples aren't really helpful in this because it's not going to apply and you might try to find yourself trying to work into the example that I give. So I'm actually just going to take you through this process, and I'm just going to be the healer on this side, and you're the client, and I'm already connecting with you. And so if you have that thing that you know you're tripping on, have that thought in your mind. Now close your eyes for a moment and see if you could just take yourself back to where you're in that moment and be aware of when that thing happens, whatever it is, whatever that tripping point is, where you know that you're stuck or you're not responding the way you would like to. Pay attention to what you're feeling at that moment. Pay attention to what you could hear your memories of what you were thinking were at that moment. And I'll take one of those thoughts, the most predominant thought for what you believed you would have loved to have shared or said, and then ask yourself a question about that thing. Okay, so then why does that matter so much? What is so pivotal about that thing, that thought, that mattered so much that I wasn't able to find my voice with it, that I wasn't able to get past it? What is it about that? And so take that thought and same thing, dig back on that thought and allow yourself to see other areas of your life or earlier areas of your life where you've hit that thought. And go into those circumstances and go into that memory. And so again, see what were you thinking? What were you feeling when you were experiencing that? And allow yourself some time to connect with that. And then find the questions around that. Why did that matter so much? What was so pivotal about that thought? And then see again what you hear or the feeling that you have related to that. And this process, it could be 2 or 3 layers deep. It could be 20 layers deep. The way to have an idea of when you're finally hitting the root of the problem is when the catalyst for why you're reacting this way or why you're stumbling is based only 100% on an actual feeling versus a circumstance. And so when you get to where the only thing left is that it's because you're just afraid in general or something along that line where it's about just a sheer emotion, then that's where you could stop and you say, that's the thing that you want to work on. That's the thing you want to be aware of. That is the root that probably goes out into dozens of different aspects of your life. But we're using this one to bring you down into that. And so knowing now that that issue is a root cause, so now it's like, okay, you want to work there. You want your awareness to be there. And then you want to look at that and be honest with yourself that this is not a real debilitating emotion or circumstance. It's what you're believing is. And so as much as you were the one that actually placed this thought there somehow, some way, or allowed that thought to be placed there somehow, some way, and because of that, you also have the power to replace that or remove that without anyone else involved. This is strictly on you. So in there's a couple different paths you could take or multiple paths you could take. And one is to use affirmations that are an opposite mindset to help replace that. And so one of the things that I would do, and this is going back more now into the spiritual aspect of things, is to recognize that I am limited in what I can fully perceive, understand while in our 3D form. And so I acknowledge that spirit has a higher perspective, a greater perspective. And so my thing is to take that final issue that I have and say, I hand this over to spirit to correct and then return to me in some form. And so when when that happens, I'm basically releasing that and saying, okay, not I'm not hanging on to this. There's a thing, this is something that I know, even if I don't know how to release it, I know I want to release it. And so I'm handing that over and saying, somebody, excuse me, not somebody, that an awareness outside of this 3D awareness, and it could just be your higher self, however you want to see your guides, or however you want to define that, doesn't matter. But it's outside of this 3D awareness that there is a greater awareness. And so we're pushing that over into there and allowing that process, that to be seen in a whole different way and to be undone. And so on that end, that comes back in a more pure form. And then that's the release. And so releasing is the beginning, but now there is a hole there, and you do want to fill that hole in. And so that's where affirmations then definitely do come in place. And so I could give an example in this case. So let's say if the base thing was just about fear, or let's say fear of lack of finances, fear of abundance, or lack of abundance. And so a affirmation would be that I am open to both give and receive. I am open to allow blessings to come into my life. Things along that line would be the thing. It's just helping to fill that hole back in with an opposite mindset. And it's not magic. And it's not just even trying to convince yourself or trying to convince God or anything. These are just, it's a process of creating a different dynamic for how you eventually experience that circumstance. And this process, when you're done with it, it isn't like it's fixed. Okay, what you may have just done is practiced fixing it. And so as you go through and you hit that wall again, you're going to be more aware the next time when you actually hit that wall again. And you're going to have a greater awareness of what is the root cause. And you can immediately go in there again with even greater clarity and go through that process again and maybe be even a little bit more surgical in what you find. And you just keep repeating that process. And it could be something that it takes you days, weeks, years, decades. It doesn't matter. The thing is, it's a healing process, but it's not a thing where if you don't see immediate results, that somehow it has not happened. It's some of these wounds or issues you have could have been there your whole life, could have been there in many, many existences before. And so it could have been something that's been with you for eons. And so even if it was to take you months or years to fully work your way down to find the true root of that, to bring it up and release it, that's really no time at all. And it's an incredible thing. And then it's something that will not move forward with you as you go on to whatever comes next. So this process, I would invite you to apply to almost anything that you have a problem. It doesn't have to be your most serious thing. You can use this for anything. Again, what is the root? Is that? What is the underlying thought on that? Why am I reacting that way? You just ask yourself questions that apply to that issue that you're finding until you get down to where the only thing you're reacting to is an emotional response and not to a circumstance. And it gives you an idea that is a root cause. Maybe not the root cause, but a root cause. So, well, I hope this has been helpful. There is a long process that we must go through often to get to the root of many of our issues, but it's not like a hardship. It's a choice of us wanting to do that work or not. And there's nothing that says that you have to do that work. But if you are wanting to get past these blocks, if you want to call it that, finding the root issues and eradicating them is really the place where you want to go. If you're working on this and you're struggling with keeping your focus or finding your way down to that root cause, you're more than welcome to come to lighterthinking.com. I have several programs. One of them is Road to Happiness. That would be the most basic one to start with, where we could look at a lot of your basic issues and see, where we could work together, and then we could see what other programs might work with your unique circumstance after that. Yeah, so go to lighterthinking.com and check out what we have to offer. I would love to work with you individually, help you really move through this process much more quickly, only for the sake that when two people do work together and there's that capacity to bounce things back and forth, the dynamic for change dramatically improves. And it's not magic. It's the way spirit works with this interaction. Even if you want to get biblical, where two or more are gathered, there is a truth in that. With when energies are combined with a singular intent, things happen. And I would love wonderful things to happen in your life and for changes to come about that you've been struggling with. And that's why I'm here. I've had this experience. I've gone through so many different growth challenges, and so I really do understand a lot of what you're going through. And so I definitely invite you to connect with me. And we have free consultations you could even try to have an idea, so we can get an idea if it is something we can work on together. All right, well, that wraps up this session. I thank you for joining with me, and you're invited to come back as often as you like and see where your life goes. Namaste.